Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wish Alliance Conscious Awakening series. I'm your host, Sheila Seppi, founder of the Wish Alliance, and we are so excited that you're here with us. This month, throughout the entire month, we're going to have Joan of Angels as my special co-host, and I'm going to introduce Joan and bring her on in just a minute, and she will then introduce our special guest for tonight, Victoria Reynolds, who is a spiritual luminary, an angelic walk-in, and Elohim for freedom. So we're going to have a wonderful program for you tonight. But before I bring them on, actually I'm going to go ahead and introduce Joan, because Joan's actually going to show some events for one of our partners, and that's the Portal to Ascension. We also have partnership with New Realities, and so everyone who is watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us. And if you have not yet subscribed, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, let everyone know that you're enjoying this program. And I'm sure we all thank you from the bottoms of our heart. But during this entire month, we're going to have Joan of Angels. And Joan, for over 40 years, served as a chiropractor. She's a speaker, a coach. She has inspired, counseling, and uplifted people from across the world to align their body, mind, and spirit as they remember their purpose and step into their destiny. And I'm going to go ahead and bring Joan on and ask Joan to tell everybody a little bit more about yourself. Love the crown. Tell us a little bit more about yourself before we go to our partner site.
So I could start by saying I'm a fully activated and awakened angel.
Yes.
And that's exactly how I feel. So it's been a long process coming, but yes. So that is who I am, really an angelic being in my third 3D body, but I help people remember who they are, why they're here, their purpose, their mission. And I am really a motivational coach in that way, because I help you remember your toolkit, your skills, and your big picture now. So that's what I do. And I'm a visionary artist and create angel art. One day I may show the gallery. I don't know how I'll do it, but one day you will get to see the gallery. And so, I also have been helping Neil co-produce events. So I've been working closely with Neil on Portal to Ascension events, and I have been doing interviews with Neil along with my own Miracle Mondays and my Step into the Miraculous interview. So that's me.
Beautiful. So would you go ahead and bring up the Portal to Ascension website, and let's see what Neil's got going on.
Oh my God, guys. Okay, having hung out with Neil, I can say that it's almost, so let's see, why don't I see what I'm looking for? I have it opened on Chrome and it doesn't share it. Advanced. Files. Basic. I'm pretty experienced with this. Why can't, oh, here it is. Okay, I got it. I have so many security things on my computer that it doesn't actually let me automatically. God, this is going to be terrible in an event. Hold on. That's annoying as heck. Okay. It wants me to click and reopen, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hope for the best, and I'm right. Okay, upcoming webinars. Here we go. Good. So you can see that, I'm thinking. So Neil has a group of events coming up. You all know William Henry, Awakening the Pearl. He is coming, and I'm going to have a chance, I hope, to interview him this month, actually in Sedona. Marina Serene, well, we know her, Making Contact with Extraterrestrial workshop on March 17th. The Divine Intervention. Last week we had Laura Eisenhower on. It was one of the most heartwarming weeks, I think, but Neil's going to have her on doing an event, Divine Intervention. And I really like this one, Overcoming Dark Agendas. So this one's really appropriate for nowadays. Kamora Jones, Creative Identity of the Soul, coming up then, developing your creative essences. And then this one I'm co-producing with Neil, so I'm extra proud of this one, The Extraterrestrial Races, Planets, and Technology. It is an all-day event You'll have Alan co-hosting also and speaking. Adam Apollo just agreed to speak, so he is going to be wonderful. Jenna Layden, Sarian Michael White, Mary Rodwell, Barbara Lamb, Paul, our own Paul Groover, and Geraldine Orozco. Oh, and Dan Winter. So check that one out. And then Phil Gruber's doing an event on Mary Magdalene the following, I think, day, actually. So 26, he'll be doing it on the 27th. So that's all for now. We're also hosting a 3-day free event in April. So let's see if I can find that. I don't want to take too much time. Come on. Hello, baby. All right. Yes, the Pyramid one is coming up, the Pyramid Conference. This one I think is going to be really exciting. He's actually having an all-day conference dedicated to NDEs. And also we have a conference coming up in April, the Pleiades, their ancient, present, and future connection with Earth. And this is the free or by donation online 3-day conference, which is followed by Joan of Angels, how to use the intuitive gifts you were born with, on Monday, April 18th. And I will stop here. Enough for you to sink your teeth in, guys. All right. A lot of good things happening. A lot of great events.
Yeah, thanks, Joan. I appreciate your showing those for us tonight. And I was going to have April Dick, who is my right arm, helping me out with this website, and I am so grateful. And then, of course, we've got Cindy, too, and Cindy's been helping out with the Facebook. But I'm going to go ahead. April, honey, can you go back so I can bring your photo up? You're quicker than I am. Can you stop sharing screen? There we go. I want to bring you up. All right.
Did it stop sharing?
Yes. But we don't have an image. There we are. There you are.
Here I am. Okay. And oh no, I lost it.
Oh no.
It's okay. Forgive me. I am not as experienced at this.
Hey, it's awesome.
Okay. Share. Can you see this screen now? Can you see
Yes.
the Wish
Yes.
Alliance website? Perfect.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I wanted to explore a little bit about the Artisan Station, if you don't mind today, Sheila. And what we have here is, well, a lot of them are ambassadors, but they all have wonderful skills to share with us: film, music, poetry, and art. And I really love this section of the website because you can spend a lot of time here. You know, if you want to visit some calm art, you can do that. Joan, we got yours. Here you go.
I see that.
Where's your art? Here we go. So yeah, here we got a little preview of Joan's art here. So, and there's many other artisans on Alan Steinfeld. He published a wonderful short film under films. A Dead Man.
Oh, that's a
Never
great
Wear a
film.
That
Yeah.
was really good.
Really
So
funny.
anyway, I recommend people to explore that space, and
Yeah.
also the ambassador space too. Is
And you have a new pop-up box on here too, don't you?
we do have a new sign up form, and there it is. So to exit this, you just click on the screen. It will pop up on a certain pages, and we really encourage people to sign up. We send out bi-weekly newsletters of upcoming events.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, April. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all your help on the site.
Thank you.
Yeah, Cindy, we need to get you on here one night so that you can show off the Facebook page and all the great work that you do.
And her avatar.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. So I'm going to go ahead and let's bring Joan back up and have her to introduce our special guest for tonight. I'm super excited.
So I am too. And I'll tell you exactly why I'm excited and honored to be introducing Victoria. I had the honor of meeting her, I guess it was a little over a year ago. We were both broadcasting on the same network, Spirituality Gone Wild. And Victoria just seemed like her own special brand of broadcaster. She just she just had her own unique way. And a mutual broadcaster, Steve Webb, brought her out to the house. And the moment she stepped in my house, I just knew we had done lifetimes together, and lifetimes in helping people free themselves from karma, from the traps that we set here for ourselves. So I want to tell you a little bit about her. She is a Victoria Reynolds. Elohim of Freedom is her name. She is a spiritual luminary, an angelic walk-in. She was born into, and this is so fascinating, she was born into a polygamous cult in the mountains of Montana, where she was taught to be afraid of her spiritual gifts. Victoria's midlife spiritual awakening led to her becoming who she was always meant to be. She's the author of 4 books, provides spiritual counseling services, and is the host of Fearless and Free TV. And she teaches others how to free themselves, and this is important, from fear-based beliefs to find heaven within. So Victoria, unmute yourself, hon. So I had the pleasure of even seeing Victoria yesterday, and we're actually doing a lot of wonderful things together. So I'm so happy to welcome you to our program, Victoria.
Thank you, Joan. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
And you look rather angelic tonight too, kind of Elohim-like. If I was to, you just look so kind of angelic in your presentation. So I thought we could begin with you sharing, I think your childhood, what it was like to sort of turn off your gifts, but know somehow in the back of your mind you might be escaping somehow. Like, what was that whole thing about for you?
Well, it's interesting. Even before I knew I was here to do anything with freedom, there was part of me that always wanted to be free. So I grew up in this environment where girls were basically owned by men. It was like patriarchy on steroids, if you can imagine that.
Oh, man.
So that already is a little bit disempowering.
Yes.
Yeah. So I grew up in this place where I was told that, well, for starters, it was a teeny tiny community. There were only 6 families when I was born. So, imagine growing up in a town with 50 people to start with. And by the time I left, it was up to 800.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, teeny tiny place. And it was a very, very controlled environment. So I didn't know anything except we weren't allowed to watch television. We didn't have radio. We didn't have any access to the outside world, other than I knew my dad would get up and he would go to work in town, as we called it. And he worked as a mailman, and then he would come home at the end of the day. And he also ran the community dairy. So he wasn't home much, but when he was home, he was not a very nice person to be around. And there was this belief that a man ruled his family. The man was the king of the castle. The man, and then one of the beliefs was to bring children to God by any means necessary. There was a belief that children needed to have their spirits broken and needed to have their will broken. So I felt very broken as a child. I knew that, even the one things, the saying that I finally discovered means where Jesus said, do not suffer the children to come to me. When I was a child, I thought he meant suffer the children to come to him. So I really thought that children were supposed to suffer. And so I broke my leg when I was 4 years old, and I spent a month in the hospital in town with the Gentiles. And what I discovered is that the people in the outside world were so much kinder than the people in my community. And that started me, at 4 years old, I suddenly woke up to, I like that better.
Right.
Wow.
And I found myself struggling with that I didn't leave home until I was 17, but I struggled with that for the next, 13 years of it. I was happier out there than in this community where I was told was my safety zone. So it's one of the reasons I think I'm so open-minded now, because I'm like, oh, the narrative I was being told about what was safe and secure was actually the opposite of what was true. So I always kind of had that open mind. But one of the other things I discovered looking back is that I was always questioning all things spiritual. I think more than a lot of children. I went to church because I wanted to go to church, because I wanted to learn about God. And my dad didn't have to coerce me to do it. And I was always asking questions, and I was always being shut down because the adults around me couldn't answer my questions. And I could see the dichotomies in their religious beliefs that didn't make sense to me. And so I knew there was a part of me that really, really wanted to believe what they were telling me, and another part of me that just did not work for me. And I also had,
I was going to say, isn't it interesting at that? I'm sorry, we must have a lag here. Okay. I don't mean to talk over you there. Sorry, I was just going to say, isn't it interesting that it was the age of 4, and that it was a broken leg that kept you from moving forward in that particular life path? And that probably, and of course, when you break things, that's all about new beginnings and starting over and releasing old habits. And it's interesting that at the age of 4, you were so observant and able to carry that through with you all of your growing up years.
Yeah, I just, as I said, I spent an entire month in the hospital. So it wasn't like I broke my leg and went to the hospital and came back home.
Right.
I got to really experience, strangers that would come into my room, because people do, like they go to volunteer at children's hospitals. So all these people came to see me. And I felt like a princess. And then I went back home to that community where everyone was mean to me. And there was a part of me that never forgot how much kinder people were in the outside world. And the other thing too, is that I was very intuitive. And I remember one time I had what they called ESP, and I could actually see, I was testing, I had heard about this ESP when I was in high school, and I could read what was on the other side of people's papers when they would ask me what was on the other side of the paper, and I always guessed it. And then that freaked my family out. And they always told me that was the devil trying to tempt me, that my spiritual gifts were the devil trying to tempt me, that when I asked questions, it was the devil trying to tempt me. And so I was afraid of that. So I stuffed all of those gifts until 2010.
And so what happened then?
In 2010, I had my spiritual awakening. What I discovered was around the 2008 recession. So in 2008, as so many of the rest of us experienced a complete crumbling of everything I knew. I lost my business, and my husband lost his business, and we were in bankruptcy and foreclosure. And both my kids were diagnosed with learning disorders. And I was at that point of, feeling on the verge of suicide, right? And then I decided to start walking in the morning. And that's when my higher self, my inner voice, started communicating with me. And I realized I was having a spiritual awakening. Mm-hmm. And then in November of 2010, I met this woman who activated a bridge to my higher self. And I started communicating what I now know. My personality self was named Margaret at the time. And I started communicating with my higher self, who is Victoria. And Victoria started communicating with Margaret. It's interesting to tell the story this way, because there's the personality self and the higher self. Yep. And then what happened, that there was a point a couple of years later where Victoria, asked to fully embody in this body. And that embodiment was complete on September 6th, 2018. And I came home that day, and I told my husband, things are going to be different now, just letting you know. I'm a different person, and I'm not going to be a mat for you anymore to wipe your feet on. So the walking in process for me wasn't immediate as it is for some people. It was more of a merge that took place. It started in 2012 and finished in 2018. Because my personality self had some resistance to letting go of what I call control over the bus. And then in 2018, she finally said, fine, I let go, now you finish. So that's when I took over, and all that's left of her is the middle initial that I've kept for the sake of my kids and because I still have teenagers. They still refer to me as Mommy Margaret sometimes, and the school does.
Yeah. Now, how did the kids respond to this change?
Well, it happened over such a period of time that I don't think they really noticed it. I haven't told them who I am. I know at some point I need to do that.
Do they know you go by Victoria?
They do, yeah. So I did legally change my name in 2019 to Victoria.
And do they wonder about that?
No, because I started using the name Victoria in 2012 when I wrote my first book. So they knew that Victoria was a pseudonym. It was my author name. It was my screen name. And I just told them that it was time for me to finish fully embodying that name, and they never really questioned it.
Okay. Does anyone still call you Margaret?
A few of the neighbors.
Interesting.
Yeah. And my son's school, just because I haven't finished changing it with his school, it's almost like, there's only a year left, so I didn't really bother changing it.
And so how did you then start to process being Victoria? And what, how's the world in your life now?
Oh, so much better. Because for a while I felt like I was doing spiritual splits. Mm-hmm. And that can be really, really uncomfortable. So I had like my left leg in 3D and my right leg in 5D, and the splits are really uncomfortable. And I did that for, probably 6 years of going by Victoria. And I didn't tell the world I was the Elohim of freedom. That one took my personality self a while to accept, because it's such a big role on the planet.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So the Elohim we're creators of worlds. We're some of the oldest souls, some of the first souls that Creator created. And what we do is we create planets, we create worlds. And I'm one of the creators of this world. And so one of the things I think is really important to clarify for people is that Elohim are not the same as the Greek gods and the Roman gods and the ones who called themselves gods, who came here and manipulated human DNA. That's not the Elohim. The Elohim are actually creators of worlds. My role is as the guardian of freedom for this planet. And so whenever humanity needs me, that's when I embody. So, but I don't know if my previous lifetimes that my embodiments knew who I was, who they were. But wow. That's what I'm doing here now.
Yes. So are you on this planet? Is there something, like, if you could put your finger on one thing that you're wanting to create, what would that be?
Well, what I want to create is the whole new earth. Which is based in conscious choice. So up until now, we've been living in unconscious choice, manipulated choice, coerced choice. We've had freedom of choice. So a lot of people are saying, well, we haven't had freedom of choice. We actually have. It's just that it's been manipulated by those who work on the dark contrast, because we have been experiencing contrast. Those who work in the dark contrast have figured out how to manipulate our choices. They found a loophole in freedom of choice. So they're saying, well, we give people their choice, and they do. We just don't know that we're not consciously choosing. So the reality we're moving into is based in conscious choice, where every person will be fully aware of the choices that they're making, and their choices, whether their choices are based in fear or whether their choices are based in love. And that's actually what hasn't been occurring on the planet for a very long time, is conscious choice.
Did you have a question, Joan?
No, actually, I don't actually have a question. I'm still processing everything you're saying. And, I hear you, I've heard you speak. Tell us about your shows then, Fearless and Free, and how you help, like what you're doing, like I don't know, what your philosophy is then, what you're teaching us now.
Okay. So primarily we've been living in a fear-based reality. My understanding is for about the last 11,000 years. That's when our current mode, if you will, came to the planet. And we as a collective of souls actually agreed to experience the contrast. That's what the story of Garden of Eden is all about. It's when fear came to the planet, as a collective of souls, we agreed to experience the contrast. That's why it's called, the tree of wisdom, which was experiencing right, wrong, good, bad, dark, light, fear, love. So we've been living in this contrast, but the contrast was never meant to be this dark. It was never meant to be this fearful. It was supposed to be a balance of light and dark, so that humanity could find its light within the darkness and could find its true loving essence within the love, within the fear. And the darkness and the fear became so much more than was originally agreed upon. So what I do on my show, and the primary teachings of everything that I do, is to teach people how to recognize their fear-based beliefs, so that when you can recognize that your beliefs are based in fear, then you can transmute them and you can transcend them and overwrite your fear-based beliefs with loving truths. The issue is that most of our beliefs right now are fear-based. That's why they don't feel like conscious choice, because they're all based in fear. So primarily my purpose is teaching people how to recognize fear and how fear plays out unconsciously in their lifetimes, how their choices are made based in fear, and how fear encapsulates the human heart, because this reality we're moving into is a heart-based reality. So even when we talk about mind, body, spirit, I always put heart in there, because heart has been left out of the whole being. And it's the part that's now being reawakened and being healed within the human experience, because this heaven on earth we're creating is a heart-based reality. And we get to that heart-based reality by first recognizing the role that fear has played in our existing one.
Beautiful. Now, do you teach courses in this, or do you do it through the weekly programming? How do you?
I teach a lot. I teach a lot of it on my YouTube channel. That's my free service to humanity. I do also do one-on-one consultations, what I call spiritual sessions with people. I do what I call spiritual resolution, issue resolution, and heart passageway healing. I help people heal their hearts, all kinds of stuff that's in there, which I find interesting. And then I also have a class called the Transcendence Process. That's based on the process that I used in my book, Transcending Fear. It's the process that my higher self gave my personality self to heal my life back then after the 2008 recession. And so many people are there right now. It's a process really for the spiritual newbies and those who are just now in their awakening experience.
Let me show you a website, Victoria. And just maybe scroll through it for people. The fear-based reality. And you have a book here, Rise Up.
Mm-hmm. That's my free book. So it's actually a real book. It's not a 10 to 15 page quickie book. It's actually a real book. I tend to do that. I give away entire books for free. And then when something else comes in, then I put that one up for sale. Then the next book comes through me.
And you have some pretty great classes. I know a little bit about the 6D money tree is a great class. We've talked about it, but what is the transcendence process then?
So that's the class I was just talking about. The Transcendence Process is a 9-part hands-on course. So I'm there in person every week for 9 weeks. It's a small classroom. So it's usually less than 10 students. Well, it's always less than 10 students. That's my maximum, because I want to make sure that every person gets one-on-one attention. It's a wonderful, wonderful support group. And everybody who takes the class ends up being friends by the time the class is over, because they're all processing their lives together. And so it is a 9-week course. I'm there every step of the way. There's homework assignments that go with it. There's a journal that goes with it. And they also read my Transcending Fear book as well. So each chapter in the book is actually 1 week assignment. And then I have some, a card deck that goes with it. So it's a really, really great program. And then the 60 Money Tree is all about teaching people how to grow prosperity in the 6th dimension.
I love that. And I actually remember you growing a money tree in my living room. Okay. When you were telling me about the program and how you did the process, the result was I have a money tree in my living room, guys, because of Victoria. And okay, and your spiritual sessions are here. And I've known a bit about those too. And these are your books. Are they available? Well, they're available obviously on your website, Transcending Fear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're all available on Amazon as well.
Okay, good. Rise up, own your true worth, vital keys to living. So one thing, okay, let me stop the share. One thing I'm noticing, oops, I lost myself on Zoom. Hold on. Stop share. There. Hi. So one thing I noticed is that you've just really taken on your new name. Not your new name, but the real name you've been given, Victoria Elohim of Freedom, because we've talked about it, but you've taken it on in the last few months or last year. What's really like gone on that's given you the to really wholeheartedly, fully integrate here?
Well, part of it was, as I mentioned, I've known for about the last 10 years, that's who I am. There was a part of me that was afraid to come out of the spiritual closet, as I call it, because I didn't feel like humanity was ready for me yet, that people would freak out if they knew that there was an Elohim on the planet. And then, as I would slowly tell people and they would say, oh, okay, and then not think twice about it. So it's gotten to the point now I tell people and they're like, oh, okay, like it's no big deal. It's okay. So there's another angel on the planet. It's amazing. It is extraordinary how much humanity has grown in the last 10 years to be able to accept us, who are not your ordinary human beings. Not that any human being is ordinary, but you know what I mean. There are a lot of us here who volunteered to be here, who are from angelic realms and who are from, ascended masters that are here. And there are ETs that are here that have chosen to embody in human form. And it's really extraordinary that there are enough people now who embrace that there's now I kind of laugh. I'm like, wow, what was I so afraid of to begin with? But what my team told me, I have my team, my spiritual team that I work with, and they told me a couple of months ago, look, it's just time. Humanity is now finally ready for you to step out of the spiritual closet, all in, both feet, all here, because humanity needs it now. And they're not ready for some of the angelics that I know are here on the planet, but I guess they're ready for me. So.
Awesome. Now, are there other Elohim on the planet?
There are. I was actually told there are many of us here. And I did meet someone a couple of years ago. I found her on Facebook and I did some digging and I sent her a private message. And I said, are you Elohim? And she says, yes, I am. So there are a bunch of us here. A lot of them are here. They've been very busy. I call them galactic engineers. So I'm one of the higher realm of Elohim. If you Google Victoria Elohim of Freedom, you'll see that I'm one of the higher. See, we don't use, it's not egoic, right? There's no ego at all in any of this. It's just that I'm one of the primary Elohim. There are a lot of Elohim here who I call galactic engineers. They've been rebuilding the grid around the planet. They've been re-engineering the planet herself. They've been going into all of the sacred places and reactivating them. They're very, very busy on the planet. And some of them are working on the grid that's around the planet. So they're very busy. And apparently there are a bunch of them here. But I have only met one other one.
Beautiful.
Do they have any messages for us today? Like, do you come bearing any messages from your team for us?
What I'm hearing is to hold tight. It is going to get bumpier. And there isn't anything that isn't already known. So that and we, all of you here, I believe, know this, that this crumbling is a necessary part of this new reality that's being birthed through humanity. And what human beings tend to do is go first into fear, because we have been living in this fear-based reality. But understand, the more love we bring into this experience, and the more light we remember to be, the less painful the process will be. That the resistance to the process is what's causing the suffering.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. And is there, like, from you personally, do you have a message specifically that you wanted to bring out tonight to everybody that's listening?
Just to remember, dear ones, that you are all divine love embodied, and that there isn't anything that isn't love. The darkness exists as a medium for growth. That's why we have allowed the darkness to persist on this planet. It exists to bring you back to God, to bring you to your knees, to wake you up and bring you back to the love that you are. You needed it to be this dark in order for you to recognize your own light. And now you're being the gift of waking up and seeing who you really are as divine love in human form. All of you, not just one of you, all of you are one with God, one with Source, and capable of more than you can even begin to imagine. As Yeshua once said, miracles like this, you will do even more. That is what's within every single one of you when you wake up and discover the truth of who you are. That's all for tonight.
Beautiful. Very, very beautiful. You know, one of the things that we like to do is kind of open everything up to people in our audience that may have questions for you. Before we do that, Joan, do you have any other questions or comments that you wanted to make before I open it up for questions?
Just one of my comments is that I love your work, Victoria. I have loved how you really get to the heart of things I didn't even think of asking, and you're seeking clarification on it. And fearless and free and bold, I think, are the words for today. And I just really appreciate you.
Thank you, my love. You know how much I love you, Joan.
I do know how much. And also, you know, this is interesting, Victoria. You're very much into collaboration. And you've been teaching me about collaboration. And I really think that in this new earth, you've been talking about maybe a minute or two on collaboration from your perspective, from the Elohim perspective.
What is it, collaboration? Collaboration is the bridge. We're actually moving into cooperation. So in the fear-based reality, we had competition that was created to, in the contrast, to create the illusion of lack and win-lose. So we started moving out of competition and into collaboration about 10 years ago, a little bit more than that, where people started understanding if they worked together, they could be more successful. Collaboration is the bridge. It's part of the chrysalis that humanity is presently in, the transformational process humanity is presently in. So if you think about what humanity as a collective is going through right now as the caterpillar, then the cocoon, and then the butterfly, in this interim phase, this transition phase, we have collaboration, and collaboration really means to work side by side. So I envision this as a lab. So imagine that you're working in the same lab, you're working on your project and someone else is working on their project, and they're collaborating. What we're moving into is cooperation. And collaboration was necessary to get people accustomed to the idea that we're not in competition with each other. In cooperation, we all work together for the same purpose. So not even working side by side on two different projects, but working together for this exact same purpose. 100% from the heart, pure, absolute divine love in everything we do. So that transition phase is necessary for us to be able to get to cooperation, because right now, very little of humanity can even grasp what it is to fully cooperate. And so that's what this Conscious Awakening series is. W.I.S.H Alliance is. It actually is an alliance. It's a co-op.
Yeah.
It's beyond collaboration.
And I love to hear, what you're saying, because I think far too long, everybody's been the me, over here I am, let's see. And it's like, well, we don't have to be over there like this. Let's just all come together. We're all working for the same thing. So I love what you just said, because, that way we're building these conscious bridges. We're working, and people are, just because of the synergy of the field, they're starting to waken up. People who I would have never thought, because I knew them for a long time, people are starting to attend, starting to ask questions, they're coming to various workshops, and they're like, I just love this. Now I understand there's more of me's out there. And it's like, yes, there's more of you's out there, and it's been a beautiful process, and I agree with you. We have to have the dark in order to have the light. And that crumbling is so that the soil becomes much finer and those new seeds can really start to come up, because they have been planted. They most certainly have.
Yeah, so that the soil is being, as you said, the soil is being broken up so that there can be this emergence. Yes. And that's what we're beginning to experience, is a mass awakening, a global emergence into the light. And it's really uncomfortable for people who don't understand that's what it is. That's why so many of us were given the gift of waking up early, so that we could assist others with the process. Mm-hmm. In this new reality we're creating, as you mentioned, this, what's in it for me, the new mantra is what's in it for we. Yeah. If it is to be, it is up to we. So this whole me, that is going by the wayside.
Paradigm. Yeah. Absolutely.
And this oneness consciousness, again, isn't the same as, and I always clarify that all the difference in the world between one world and one earth. So we're moving into one earth consciousness. While there are those who are still clinging desperately to the idea of one world, the one world government is radically different. It's so that the darkness always creates like an inversion of the love. But in the fear, there's an inversion of what exists in love. And there's always an inversion in the darkness of what exists in the light. So the two realities look very, very similar, because one is an inversion of the other. But if you look really, really close, you see how they're actually completely the opposite. So our role is to focus on creating this new loving reality where everyone is free. And it's all about we working together in one love for the highest and greatest good of all concerned.
Beautiful. So thus, the Elohim of freedom, the freedom Elohim. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, thank you for being not just on this program, but for being here on the planet and helping to, help to usher in this new time, because, it really is exciting. And when I start thinking about all the changes, that are happening, I get this visceral feeling inside, and it just starts to grow, and it gives the chills, and, almost the stomach ache. It gets so intense. But things are definitely moving.
Yes, a little bit more every day. And people keep asking, when are we going to see it? And what they don't understand is it is happening every day, more and more and more every day. And it's happening the way that it is, in the way that's best for humanity. Because if everything were to happen all at once, the human mind, human beings are still a very young species. Oh, yeah. And they're like little children. You can't tell them everything all at once because they'll go into overwhelm. So the information is being dripped in a way that they have time to adjust to it before the next big thing comes in. But as you've seen energetically, the amount of energy that's moving onto the planet right now, and the amount of light that exists on the planet right now, it's the light that's coming out of this planet is exposing the darkness. So that the darkness eventually leaves. Now, I was shown very clearly 10 years ago that this planet is a learning planet until we as a collective of souls determined for it to be a place of peace. Now, as a collective of souls, we have chosen for this to be a place of peace. Under that choice, that means fear is going to be leaving the planet. So I have people argue with me about this being Earth School, and yes, until now it has been. In the future, it will not be, because this planet is being returned to paradise. It's actually going to become like a vacation planet, for lack of a better word.
For us or for everyone else? Wait a minute.
For everyone. This is going to be a respite for weary souls.
Beautiful.
And so we're in that final transition phase right now, what I call the end of the old world and the beginning of the new world. That's this transition phase that we're in. What this planet will eventually move into is a planet of peace and place of paradise that it once was. And so what will eventually happen is that those beings who can raise their vibration up to be able to be in that space will eventually transition out.
Oh, yeah.
And then the new souls that come in will already be in that vibration. See, and when the planet and her people are in that place of paradise, we'll start to see visitors from all over the galaxy and all over the universe that will want to come here on holiday.
Beautiful. I love that.
Won't that be fun?
That'll be very fun. Yes, it will.
In the mind of the universe, it happens overnight. Now, in Earth concept of time, it might take a few years to get there, but that is where we are heading.
Yeah. So have you been receiving any information about what's next for humanity?
Well, what I started seeing about a year ago is that we are going to be building a new reality alongside the existing one. So for a while, these two worlds will be coexisting. Mm-hmm. So we'll just start building new Earth right here, right now. And eventually those who are in the old world will start saying, wow, we really like what they have going over there. They'll start crossing the bridge. So our role isn't to wait. We need to stop waiting for a leader to do it for us. We are actually the ones we've been waiting for. And we've been saying that for years, right? We're the ones we've been waiting for. And I think there are enough people that are finally starting to grasp, oh, we actually are the ones we've been waiting for. We're not waiting for a savior. We're not waiting for a president. We're not waiting for new leaders. We actually are the new Earth leaders. And it's time for all of us to step up into those leadership roles and understand we are the new Earth leaders. That leadership model is changing as well. So the idea of somebody at the top of a pyramid leading everybody underneath them, that's also going by the wayside, because heart-centered, love-based leadership does not put anyone beneath anyone else.
Right.
And so this whole new leadership model is going to start emerging. And it's up to us to create it, rather than waiting for somebody else to do it. The reason humanity has gotten the mess that it's in is that they've been waiting for someone else to rescue them.
Right.
And so it's time for us to rescue ourselves.
Yeah. One reason I put on the front of our website is we are the one, the time of the lone wolf is over. We are the ones we've been waiting for. And I think I probably shared this with you when I was on your show a couple months back, that, when I first walked in, one of the things that helped me to integrate was working with my teacher, spiritual teacher, who's of Hopi lineage. And I remember the first time that she shared that speech that had been given and had highlighted, the hope that was from the Hopis. I think it's when they went to speak at the UN. and they were talking about the time of the lone wolf was over and how people needed to come together and know where your water is, know your food source, etc. And they said, we are the ones we've been waiting for. I believe that was from that address. I could be wrong, but regardless, first time I heard those words, they just like ran just all through me. And I think that more and more people are using that phrase because it just means so much to them. And I hear more and more people talking about, well, we're the ones we've been waiting for. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because I really want everyone to realize, whether they're here with us tonight or they're watching through YouTube or maybe even listening on Clubhouse, that, in fact, we are. Everyone is who we've been waiting for, and we're the ones that's saving ourselves. So thank you so much for bringing that up and speaking about that.
Oh, you are so welcome. And yeah, it isn't just a few of us. One of the misperceptions people have is that many are called but few are chosen. And my understanding is that many are called and few choose. So every person has the choice whether to step into that role of leadership or not, and whether to step into that cooperative model or not. It's our choice. And the more of us that choose that, the faster we create the new reality.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because I have someone I work with whose birthday is the exact day as mine, March 16th. And I tell the story how I was called to paint angels. And so one day she said to me, well, Joan, I have the same history you do. But I said no. And I said, well, what do you mean? She said, well, when I was young, I wanted to be a chiropractor, but it looked like too much work. So I said no after I got that hit. And then she said, and they did want I was told to paint angels and paint, but that seemed like, and she said, so I didn't do any of these things. And it's very interesting, just that difference. So when we say yes to our destiny, yes to that call, then we can get up to that next level of our ascension. That's, when we're saying yes to this call.
Absolutely. Beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and kind of switch over to some questions now that we have. Brandon's hand went up earlier. I saw it trying to get to you, but I was just hanging on all this juiciness that Victoria's sharing. So go ahead and unmute Brandon. Let me bring you up. Where did you go?
Uh-oh, he got so excited.
There he is. There he is.
I was making some notes while I was listening. I have a few things. First, like, since I was little, I've been, kind of had like empathic abilities that, that growing up, like, I tended to tell people things they weren't necessarily ready to hear, and I didn't understand like how I was doing that, but after that, like 2 years ago, I had an experience to where I was in, I met my two Arcturian guardian angels on the etheric city of Mars. And apparently I had been there for a while, but my consciousness caught the last few parts of it, which is where I was just staring at this beautiful, like, open window with like red city and everything. And like the two crafts like came over me, and I woke up out of my bed, but it was just this feeling of like this like internal kind of like just like you're sitting on a massage chair, like my body literally vibrating, and the amount of like this joyful sorrow, like it's like I'm just crying and just like wanting it back. I've never experienced anything like that in my life. And I remember like Sheila a few weeks ago in one of the other conferences was like describing the same thing, and I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't just me, because I remember she was saying like the teary-eye feeling. I'm like, that, like that's real. And so after that experience, like I that's like all I wanted. And like suddenly everything just started kind of like, like the gifts weren't as strong and everything. And then like back, Sheila was talking about like the avoidance and everything, and I realized I had been doing that. So like ever since that came, I realized that in like a few weeks ago. And so slightly deciding to like, all right, I'm going to make the choice. This is what I'm going to finally stop avoiding all the spiritual stuff, do the work and everything, and step in. And then like things just started suddenly coming, like the serendipitous moments and little things that started creeping back. And everything. And yesterday I was following another person, you know, that follows with the certain Pleiadian collective, and they were showing photos of you know, real life Pleiadians, and like it's just, I got the same, like my confirmation, like you use your own spiritual discernment, and I got that same exciting feeling. And you know, and this is after I started deciding, like, all right, yes, I'm going to step into being human. I'm going to stop avoiding just wanting to escape Earth and like do all these and be an Arcturus and all of that. But long story short, when I first came in, like I signed up for this webinar, I think it was earlier today or yesterday, but as soon as I came in today, as soon as the thing started, like, and your picture popped up, I immediately got that same like internal thing, but like Pleiadian vibes. I'm like, it's just, everything is just so like connected, and it's just weird, like the way everything happened here, and then everything that you were talking about, Victoria, that just kind of like finally, it's like, I don't know how to describe it. Like all the stuff that's like usually going on in my head and notes that I'm making, I'm thinking like, nah. And then you hear it later, literally, like it's, I don't know. I'm just so excited. But, so yeah, that's
what
that's
you
all I want to say.
experienced, that is divine love. That is pure, absolute divine love. That is the mother. That's the heart of the divine mother that has been missing from our planet. It's also what is referred to in the Bible as the Holy Spirit. So there was the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, because the mother was not acknowledged. That's the Holy Spirit that you're feeling. That's the mother aspect of Source. Her energy is now very, very present on the planet. And as we move into this heaven on earth, we're actually returning back to the mother's heart. And every once in a while, human beings get to feel that. And it's like, that's good. Right? And so the reality we're moving into, that is the reality we will start to experience. That's where we'll be able to create miracles. That's the energy that Yeshua used to create miracles. It was the mother aspect of Source creating miracles through him. So the more we start to embrace that, the father, the mother, and the child, the more we'll start to experience those experiences and that electricity that moves through us. And you'll get to the point where that is mostly where you are. And as more and more and more of humanity gets to experience that, that will get to be where it's mostly what we all experience most of the time. You just got a nice little taste of it so that you knew what to look forward to.
Woohoo! Thank you so much, Brandon. And thanks for bringing that forward, because I'll bet you there are people that are watching this. It's like, oh my gosh, I feel that too. I just didn't know what it was. And he feels it and she feels it. So thank you for bringing that up. And it's great to see you again this week. Thanks for coming.
Do we have any more questions from everyone for Victoria? Elohim?
Oh, Susie, hello.
Hi. I was raised on Jimmy Buffett saying we are the ones our parents warned us about.
Yes, we are.
So this is way better. I didn't know the Elohim were here. I didn't know that. So this is so fascinating. And my question might be weird, but what is it like to, I mean, we're supposed to be focused on feelings now a lot. What does it feel like to be an Elohim? And how would it differ from like being an angel or being, I mean, this is so fascinating. What does it feel like? How when you walked in completely, what does it feel like? I mean, is it just, I don't know what it feels like. Is it just empowered? Are just empowered or?
Very much so, yes. So
yeah.
I still experience what it is to be human. So it's not like I'm suddenly not human. I still have all the the frustrations with being human. And some days it's very frustrating. I'm in this body right now that is not as well as I would like it to be. And Joan knows I try not to complain, but I have issues in these tissues, right? So I'm still experiencing what it is to be human. What it did when I finished walking in was that a level of confidence I'd never had before of, I'm not afraid anymore. That was new for me because my personality self was afraid of everything. And having spent the last 10 years teaching my personality self how to resolve all these issues from our childhood, now being fully embodied, I don't have those issues anymore.
Yeah, when you talk, it's
that's
like
amazing.
Yeah, it's like when you talk, I feel this authority and confidence, and it's so beautiful. I mean, it's just, and it's so beautiful that it's feminine and has this depth of authority. I just love it. I love you. I think you're awesome.
Thank you. I am one of the embodiments of the Divine Mother, which is why I speak about her so much.
Yeah, yeah.
I have put her information in here, and I'm going to put it in here.
Thank you, Susie. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So awesome. And I'm so glad we're the ones that we're not the ones our parents warned us. I'm so happy about that.
Well, we are the ones our parents warned us about. Certainly I am.
But it's much better than we thought. I mean, we have to be the way we are because we, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank God we're the way we are.
Didn't know. They only knew what they knew.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thank you, Susie.
It's good, everyone.
Hey, Lynn has a question.
Sheila, thank you so much.
Hello. Go ahead with your question, Lynn.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, Sheila, you know, technology and I are not the best of friends, as I indicated last week. Victoria, I'm going to throw you a curveball, maybe not.
Okay.
But talking about the rebuilding of the grid, and there isn't anything that is not known. So bringing it right down to basics, what about the trafficking, the adrenochrome, the hydrovegas in the vaccines? What about the plight of the animals in the Ukraine? What about the tunnels that are related to Joe Biden and his son Hunter and all the money that they're getting because of the drug trafficking in these tunnels? You know, I agree with you 100%. However, there is the reality of those folks who are trying to leave the Ukraine to go into Poland and the neighboring countries, and they can't take their animals. And there's as much light as there is. Right by the side of the light is this just phenomenal pain. And so how do we bring the light into the underground tunnels and into the hydrovega vaccines and into the adrenochrome and into, you know, all the untoward happenings on the planet right now?
So there isn't anything that isn't God, of course, because source to God, it is all that is. And it was allowed to get that dark, not necessarily. It's really important for people to understand that this isn't God's will, this is God's allowance. And God doesn't have the emotions that human beings have. It is the infinite energy of all that is. It is the energy that is all things and creates all things. And in itself is learning as we each learn. So it's simply being allowed on the all that isness. One thing that a lot of human beings don't understand is that the guardians, the angelic realm, did not know it was this dark because the grid was manipulated by those who work on behalf of the dark, and the higher realms had no idea it had gotten this bad until the planet sent out a message asking for help. Now, The planet herself is a sentient being. We call her Gaia. Sometimes I call her Mama Gaia. I call her Sister Sophia. She is actually one of my soul sisters. And she sent out a message for help. And that's why the universe, the galaxy, started coming from all over the place to come and help and assist the planet, because it had gotten so much darker here than was initially planned. The dark side also is so good at deception that in 2012, they left the impression that they had left the planet. The Dark Overlord and all of his minions, or his minions, not obviously all of them, and a lot of the shadow people all left on this dark fleet and said they were going to someplace else in the galaxy. They created a back door and let themselves back in through this dark portal, and then things got even worse. So the Guardians and the angelic realm have been fighting the dark forces all across the galaxy, and here as well. The angelic realm that has been here clearing up the tunnels, they've been very busy for the last 2 years, teleporting negative beings out of the tunnels and onto what Star Trek would call a holodeck, and taking them to another planet. It's not an overnight process cleaning up the planet. So what we see happening is being cleaned up. We just can't see it because it's all being done energetically. Most of the
and so, Victoria, if I may ask you, in the immediate, in the here and now, I'm an international animal rights activist. So taking the animals in the Ukraine that are being shot up with, the weaponry they're using over there, and the people having to leave their animals at the train station so they can get out. I hear what you're saying, but in the immediacy of helping the animals, if we're not talking about the people, immediately, what do we do in the moment? And I know what we can do in the moment. Everyone on this call can come into prayer, and we can hold the light for Putin and for all of those, the negative ETs, the Dracos, the reptilians, the Greys, for all of those who are pulling the strings in the opposite direction. If we on this call come together and see the light manifesting around all of the darkness wherever it is on the planet, and then see that go out across our planet and then into the universe, that to me is the immediacy of how we can help right now on this call. Because it's not about lecturing, it's about in the moment. And someone who is very much in tune with this is Lynne Mctaggart, and her wonderful in the moment bringing together of people sitting outside of all these danger areas in meditation, and how that just settles everything. That would be my suggestion, Sheila, and Victoria and Joan and any of us on the call tonight, if we could go into a prayer for peace for everything that's happening on the planet, because there are things going on the planet that we don't know about. Now, the angels and the Elohim, they know, but the governments don't know, or if they do know, they're not like you were saying, Victoria, they're not in consciousness and they don't care.
Right.
So
Well, most governments actually are involved with it, unfortunately.
What is it?
I said most of the governments are unfortunately also involved in the dark and the darkness playing out on the planet. Yes.
Yes, exactly. And Sheila,
Lynne, you'll be glad to know that tonight we are going to have prayer. We have Mariana that's going to lead us, and so
wonderful.
We'll be having prayer just a little bit later. So you are already picking up on that vibe.
Yes.
Yeah, we got to do something, Sheila. We just have to move the light into every nook and cranny possible,
right. Right. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you.
Yes.
All right.
So I'm being reminded again of what Yeshua said, one of his famous quotes of love your enemies and pray for those who spitefully use you. This is about sending love to those we see as enemies, that their hearts are healed. and praying for those that they see the light and they see the error of their ways. We have to be willing to hold all of them in love and compassion and light. So as long as we're holding any of those in anger and hatred and resentment, we are actually feeding the darkness. We have to hold all of them in love and in light, and hold our lights up. Again, as I always say on my channel, hold your light so high others can't help but see their own light. Our sending light into those dark places is what will cause them to be exposed, because the shadows, as we know, as the light gets lighter, the dark gets darker. And it isn't that it's getting darker, it's just that it's appearing darker because we're actually finally seeing it. And the more light we shine on it, the more it actually will dissipate. So we have to hold it in the light, and we have to hold it in the love in order for it to be dismantled, and in order for it to just melt into the nothingness from whence it came. So absolutely, we need to go into prayer and into meditation, send love all across the planet to all those who are in fear, that the love melts away their fear. Send light to all those who are working in the darkness, that they see the error of their ways, or that their ways are exposed. Our light is actually what's going to do the exposure of the process. And it is time. It is high time. Enough is enough for all of it now to be exposed. And it will be exposed by enough of us holding the light and holding the love and staying out of anger and out of againstness and out of the desire for retribution and out of the fear. Because as long as we hold ourselves in those energies, what, again, you know the saying, what we resist persists. So as long as we hold ourselves in those lower vibrations, what we don't want will continue to be what is. So it's our role to lift ourselves out of that, project that into the darkness, and that's what will cause it to be dismantled. The more of us doing that, the faster it will melt away.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Before we do go to Mariana, does anyone else have a question for Victoria? Okay, Diane. Hi, honey, go ahead and unmute.
Unmute. Okay. Yes, thank you, Victoria, for being so centered, strong, and real, actually. So do you have, this is probably on the website, but do you have a regular prayer gathering, or, prayer group?
I don't. What a beautiful idea.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you start one, let us know. Yes.
I will. I do have an invocation on my website to teach people how to do invocations.
Uh-huh.
But
okay,
I don't have a prayer group of my own.
Okay. Yeah. And my other question, I guess you do collaborate and also get together with other kinds of angels too, whether in spirit or in thought. Cooperate is the other word I was trying to think of.
I'm here with Joan. I'm here with all of you.
Good.
Yes, and there are getting to be more of us. We're starting to recognize each other. Okay. And so right now we're like, I call them, I used to see this a few years ago, little bright lights around the planet, little dots, right? And now we're starting to gather as more like lighthouses. So we're gathering, the angels are gathering. And we are, and Joan knows this, we've talked about this before, the angels are gathering and we're starting to find each other. And I really see at some point down the road where we will have almost like family reunions, but gatherings of angels where we get together and we say, okay, here we are. What are we going to do? There are a lot of us here. We just need to find each other and find each other in the darkness. Yes. And we are.
Yes, thank you.
Beautiful.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. All right.
You've done
Joan.
such a great job, Victoria. I just want to thank you. You just presented who you are in such a way. It feels like everyone has gotten your messages from the Elohim and your transformation, and it's just been lovely. Like new beginnings, Sheila and I talked about the theme, and it's springtime, new beginnings, renewal, rejuvenation. We can change ourselves. So you're just such a great example of it.
Thank you, Joan. Thank you for inviting me to be here.
Yeah, when Joan and I was talking about, okay, now who are we going to get? Because I'm so fascinated the short time that we had to talk, and then Joe's like, well, of course, she's right there at the top of my list. And it's like, great, let's get you on here, because I really wanted people to be able to experience your energy, because, the vibration of our voice really has that healing and the awakening qualities. And I found that to be very true when speaking to you, because there's such a beautiful resonance. So thank you for coming and sharing. And one more time, could you please let people know how they could get a hold of you and your website, please?
Easy peasy. It's victoriareynolds.com.
Great.
And I put your YouTube channel here as well for everyone to find.
Thank
I
you,
think
Joan.
the other blessing is that you're such a different walk-in than Sheila. And so, although I've heard Sheila describe the different kinds of walk-ins, now I have you as one kind. I kind of understand the differences, and you walked in, you slowly took over. And so I really liked hearing that.
Yeah, and Sheila actually had a name for that type of walk, and I can't remember what you called it.
I would consider the type of walk-in that you were as an overlay.
Okay.
And then the two of you ended up melding, and you came in initially as that battery charger for that soul. And you started bringing in more and more and more light. Now, there's also the soul infusion, which comes in, but it comes in, usually just very, very quickly. And so with yours, because of that integration process, I would think that's an overlay. And we're so glad that you overlaid. So thank you for not just being here, but being on planet Earth and sharing your beautiful messages with us. And tonight I also asked Mariana if she would come on. She has beautiful prayer work, and Mariana is a channel and a healer and teacher all in her own right. And if you want to just say a couple words about yourself and the prayer that you're going to bring forward for us tonight.
Sure. Thank you, Sheila, so much. Thank you, Joan and Victoria. I completely agree with Sheila. The resonance of your voice and the energy that you bring to the world is it's a gift. It's truly a gift. I myself am connecting to my connection to the Elohim. As Elohim, I call it 888. That's actually what I was writing as I was listening to what Victoria was speaking about, and the angelic realm as well. And I am a sacred divine feminine channel, and also from Ukrainian born. So this is a big one for me as I'm coming up to transmuting a lot of things that are happening. And as Victoria was saying, we are all uprooting, and the crumbling does need to happen. And it's all part of the what is now being a gigantic global reemergence, I call it, shift. So tomorrow we're actually having a big world prayer for Ukraine. So definitely I'll put it in the text box for anybody that's interested. And I would love to bring in a little bit of the prayer, and especially because I know Lynn had mentioned that, and Sheila had asked me if I wanted to do that. I think it's very important right now. It's actually vital for all of us. And it's not only in what's happening with Ukraine, just like Lynn, I agree 110%. It's not only the humans being affected, it's our plant kingdom, it's our animal kingdom that's being affected. And we have to consider that. Our animals are vital to our planet. And you know, what's happening to one is happening to all. And instead of it being fear-based, we come from the heart center and we throw compassion through the eyes of compassion. We hold space for each other and for those that are living in the fear, and for those that are fighting, for those that are on the aggression side. We hold space for them. We don't look at them with anger or resentment. We look at them with compassion, and we pray for them that their hearts be open and that they open their eyes of soul so they can see through the path of the light instead of the path of the darkness. And in my heart, I truly believe that we are going into that global shift where we will see, just like Victoria said, Earth being a paradise once again, and our galactic friends visiting it for a holiday season. So, Sheila, thank you so much. I would love to do the prayer. I won't take up too much of anyone's time. You guys had an absolutely magnificent evening. But if anybody just, we could all close our eyes just for a minute. And we just all come together. Open our heart space. Open our eyes of soul. And connect to our higher divine selves, our higher selves. Connect to the all that is. Connect to that infinite source that is limitless. Connect to the Elohim. Connect to the Seraphim. Connect to all the archangels and the angels. Connect to all of our guides and our entire galactic family of light. Connect to one another from heart to heart and soul to soul. And let's envision this magnificent rainbow of light, this beautiful white, magenta, yellow, violet, lilac, sky blue, translucent green, yellow, brown, and purple light enveloping the entire planet from top, from the north to the south, from the east to the west, and in every direction. Cross-dimensionally, let's send beams of red and blue light across each direction of the planetary grid, deep into the Earth's core and soil, deep into every single country, every single mountain, every ocean bed, every seabed, every soil, even into the stratosphere and the atmosphere, even into the aurora borealis, and hold that light as it expands 600 feet in diameter, 2,000 feet in diameter, 5,000 feet in diameter, and beyond. Hold that light within your own heart space and imagine that light growing bigger and bigger, encompassing more and more of Mother Earth, encompassing more and more of each of her soil, streaming that beautiful light into each of the mycelia and plant and the inner volcanoes, the crystal beds, Mother Earth, beaming that light into each animal, each human, each child, each woman, man, beaming that light to each plant, each bee, every insect, every soul and every being. Allow the heart of the Divine Mother to penetrate deeply into the earth's soil and into the heart of each human being and into the heart of each animal, into each soil and each plant and each flower each bee. Feel the warmth, the compassion, the light, the radiance, the magnificence of the light of the heart of the Divine Mother. Allow it to beam right into your heart and allow them to beat together in the most beautiful, synchronistic harmony in the key of 8. Allow that angelic, harmonious connection, that composition to reverberate throughout your entire being. Feel the warmth and compassion of the Divine Mother and the Divine Father and the Holy Trinity impact your every cell. Allow that light to penetrate deeply into your every organ. And allow that light to penetrate deeply into Mother Earth. And let this light be the beacon of hope and the bringer of peace onto this planet. For it is time now, dear ones, to bring peace and to return joy to its rightful owner in harmony and unity. Within the Vesica Pisces of divine feminine, divine masculine, we bring forth together the roots, the grassroots of peace throughout each corner of Earth, so that the global circumference of our Earth and the global reemergence and the shift of united front, of oneness amongst all, and of we in the beingness of all of us, be there from now till eternity and beyond. We, the ones we have been waiting for, bring forth the glory of peace throughout each corner of our planet, as we hold that same peace and that radiance within our hearts every day, and we hold space for one another within each moment of our breath. And so it is done, and so it is done, and so it is done. Amen. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you to all. May love, light, and blessings be with you all tonight. Those that are on this call listening, and those that will be listening in the near future. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sheila. Thank you, Joan. Thank you, Victoria.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariana.
Thank you, Joan.
Thank you, Mariana. And what a perfect way to, bring this magnificent call to a close. Every week I'm thinking, wow, this was just really a great call. And the next was like, wow, this was really a great, great gathering. And tonight is like, wow, this was really a great gathering too. The bar just keeps going up and up as you guys come together and really create this sacred container and help to really launch this energy that is being brought forward. So thanks to everybody that's on the call. Thanks to all the YouTube watchers and all of our listeners everywhere. Thank you so much for being here. Victoria, again, it was just absolutely magic to have you here and to share your information. And Joan, I get you all month, girl. I can't wait. Woo-hoo! This is Joan's birthday month. Mark it down, the 16th. There you go, flying high. So thank you guys so much for being here. And until we're all back together again next week, namaste. Mwah.
Thank you so much.
Love
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.
Marianne,
See ya.
I'll see you tomorrow night.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
night.
you, Joan, so much for being there. Thank you.
No,
Thank
thank
you.
you all.